Hello everyone and welcome to the Digg podcast. I am super excited to be bringing you some of the most inspirational guests over the next few weeks and months. I always try to speak to people who are making a difference in business and in life. The two definitely can't be separated. I know that more than anyone. So I hope when you're listening, you get inspiration both in your business life and in your personal life to make changes for the better. That's why I made the Digg podcast. So today I want to introduce my friend and colleague Niamh Taylor from Digital 24. For anyone who doesn't know what Digital 24 is, it's a digital agency that offers the whole package for digital marketing. And Digital 24 it's something else. You'll get to hear all about it now when Niamh begins to talk, but it's a multi-award winning digital agency. And when I was looking through all of the awards to try and tell you guys about them today, oh my God, there's so many, but just to name a few, in 2019, Digital 24 was named Northern Ireland's Best Small Business Winner at the Ulster Bank NatWest Great British Entrepreneur Awards. It also was given an award for excellence in marketing in 2019 by the Northern Ireland Beauty Excellence Awards. It was named by the Chartered Institute of Marketing for the Best Agency in 2018, and also at those awards, which I was honoured to sit beside Niamh at. The Chartered Institute of Marketing named her as the chair's overall award for best campaign across all sectors. And what a night we had that night. She also, the Digital 24 won a Danny Award for the best social media campaign in 2018 and a Digital DNA Award for best digital marketing campaign in 2018. And it goes on and on and on. And I, rightly so, everyone should go check out on their website exactly what the list of awards are, because it's really quite incredible. But first of all, before we get into talk about Digital 24, I just want to tell everyone what Niamh means to me. So Niamh is my friend first and also a colleague, which we'll talk about later on. But she was played a major role in my business for it was kind of at a crossroads in 2017, and I met her, and I've told this story loads of times, but she changed it around for me because she's a straight talking. I'll not say anything. What is it? Boss lady. But basically she tells you what you don't want to hear sometimes, but sometimes it takes that, and I'll be forever grateful for her words in 2017, and it changed things around for me, and now we're besties and colleagues in loads of different ways, and I am delighted that you're all going to find out about her today and get some words of wisdom and hopefully learn something if you're in business. Even if you aren't in business, it's very inspirational. So hello Niamh, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me on your podcast. It's an absolute pleasure, Caroline.
For now, I want you to tell everyone that's tuning in just a wee bit about your background and how you ended up being like the director of an multi-award winning digital agency.
Okay, so I guess I started doing some sort of marketing when I was 14 years of age. So quite young, I went and I worked in my auntie's travel agency. And I guess at that time, I didn't really realize that what I was doing was marketing as such. So I would go to, like hotels, and we would have stands at hotels. She owned a travel agency, and there was me just handing out flyers, the traditional way of doing marketing. And my dad owned a bar and a bookmakers, and I used to go in, and we had like an off-license window, and it was always my job to go and style, at such a young age, go and style the off-license window and order things like the drink mat. They had matches with their branding on them. That's as far back as I remember kind of getting involved in doing things like marketing. And so I just always had an interest in advertising, designing things, and so I went to obviously school, did my art and A levels, and then I went on to Queen's to do economics. And how awful was that? Economics and like a business development degree. And during my business degree, I loved marketing, and I think it was then that I actually realized what marketing was and was so set on that was the career that I wanted to have. And it just really just grew from there. I went and worked in the DAC in my very early days when I finished my degree. And the woman I worked under, she honestly was the most inspirational boss anyone could ever have. She was very straight talking, and I think I learned an awful lot from her. And we used to go to London a lot, and, you know, we worked really hard together. But I always used to look up to Anne so much. And I remember one time being in a room full of men, like loads of buyers. And when she left the room, I'll never forget this. I was very, very young, like in very early 20s. I remember them turning around and saying what a breath of fresh air Anne Johnson was. And she had just been really straight talking with them. And I just, in that moment, was like, I just want someone to say that about me when I'm older. And yeah, then Anne emigrated to Australia, and then I followed her, and I went out to Australia for 3 years and worked in marketing out in Sydney alongside Anne. And then I just came back home and then just worked in marketing pretty much all my life. And then I headed up the marketing side of things in Slide Ropes for 7 years. And I just was beginning to get quite tired of, it was never like just working for someone else, but I just was getting tired of doing the same thing and working so hard for someone else. So it was at that stage I was like, I'm going to go and find a new job. And I went to 3 different headhunters. They all said, why don't you start up your own company in digital marketing? By that stage, I had actually won loads of awards for Slide Ropes, but specifically me as a digital marketer. Like Young Digital Marketer of the Year, those kind of awards. So then I thought, you know what? I don't want to look back and regret not trying. So that ultimately happened. So I started Digital 24. There was no real grand plan. As I said, the main thing for me was I didn't want to look back and regret not trying. And then that's how Digital 24 started. And I think the key to the success has really been, you know, me just, you know yourself, just moving in the direction of opportunity, you know, listening to everyone and just moving that direction and just grabbing every opportunity that I had with my 2 hands, doing a lot of free work initially, and very much being proactive rather than reactive. You know, like I hated standing up and presenting, and I just thought I'm going to have to get out there, speak at as many kind of conferences, share my knowledge for free to really get Digital 24 out there, and that's how it all began.
And that's how I saw you. I was at an event ran by the council, and there were 3 or 4 different speakers there, everyone very, very well educated and knew their stuff. But then you spoke and I was like, I want to be in her group, because you were like, no more bullshit. This is what you need to be doing. And I was thinking, I can't believe she's saying this like at a council event. I can't believe she's actually coming out with that. But then I was like, oh my God. So we split out into groups, and then I wanted to be in your group. And then I stalked you for a 1-to-1 consultation, but we'll talk about that later. So I get, and you were there that day, obviously free, giving your time up, and it really worked, because like everyone was like, who is this woman? And then boom, Digital 24. So can you describe to everybody listening what Digital 24 does? What is it?
Okay, so Digital 24, ultimately, we help businesses grow online. So if that's like I had to sum it up in one line, it is that we help businesses grow online. But I guess there's three elements to Digital 24. So on one hand, you have like the social marketing agency side of things, and brands and businesses would come to us when they want to help understand how they go about marketing themselves on social media and how they would go about doing that effectively. And I think, well, you'll know this, and anyone else out there that owns a business will know this. Social media is a thing that changes every time we wake up. And I guess it's the only form of advertising, really, that updates itself every single day. So lots of businesses out there and brands out there do tend to need agencies that can keep them, you know, in the front of what's possible, what's new, and what, you know, what they should be doing. Not necessarily agencies, just people in that field. So that's one side of things. So that's the social marketing element of it. And I think a lot of people think we're a social marketing agency, but on the other side, and more predominantly, we have the digital marketing, so online marketing, and that's where we basically play the role of media buyers, and we plan out online digital marketing campaigns to help them grow. So whether that's e-commerce and they're looking for sales, whether they want to get brand awareness out there or get inquiries or leads on places like Google, paid social, so Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, TikTok, whatever it may be. So we have a real mix of clients, and that's our speciality. So that whole side of digital marketing, helping businesses grow online, is, I guess, where our area of expertise lies, because we're very data driven. So we work with a mix of clients, you know, e-commerce clients. We have like Greyhound Racing Ireland at the moment on our portfolio. We've got Babakush, Matchstick Monkey, so UK-based agencies. We've got Bassett's, by Fair Global. So there's loads like Dale Farm, Dramona, Mullins, the CCA Education Authority. So they're all brands that we work with or have done work with. So they'll come to us, they'll want, you know, to transform their brand, whether that's through search engine optimization, so helping them get found on Google. It might be them doing Google ads, paid social or social. And I think you mentioned some of the awards that we had won earlier on, and our most successful campaigns would go back as far as, you know, 2018, 2019, when we started to work with, it was just me in the early days when I started working with Babakush, who were a startup. And in the first year of working with them, we got like 200 million views of video content on Facebook, and they kind of went viral, they did go viral across the world. You know, and then we delivered huge amounts of sales for them as a result of that. So that's kind of what we would do, and taking on a brand. And then thirdly, we would have the whole kind of training, lecturing, mentoring side of things, which is when you and I sat down and we went, and I'll talk to you about your business, about your problems, and then about what's the right strategy, what are you doing that's right, what are you doing that's not right. And I remember, Caroline, when we met, I was like, you haven't done Facebook Lives, or you haven't done any competitions. And you're like, no, I haven't, and I will. And you know, often when I'm doing mentoring, businesses will just go away, and you kind of pray that they will take on board what you've suggested, but it doesn't always happen. But those businesses that do take that on board and do go away and implement those changes are the ones that you see the biggest change in. And sure, that night I remember logging on to Facebook, and there was you sitting on a flamingo in the window of your shop, Facebook Live. And I think at that stage there was like 20,000 odd views on it, and you were running a competition, was it to give away voucher for like £250. So you had really kind of taken that mentoring on board, and I love that area. And then I do things like lecturing. So yesterday I was lecturing with Queen's University. Today I was like delivering training for women in business and government programs and stuff like that. So there's a big, like, what we do is quite varied.
Really is. And like whenever you're right, some people would look and say, oh, you just do social media. But I know, because I know you, all the other things you do. But for a business owner like me, that day, just to let people know what, like, I am not like, yes, you're my friend, but, and this seems really like, I don't know, cliche to say, but like it changed my business all. And we literally only had 40 minutes, but you said to me more or less, like, dry your eyes, quit complaining. You haven't done a Facebook Live. You've never done a competition. You haven't posted on social media in 2 weeks. This was like 2016, 2017. And no, you have no online sales because nobody knows you're there. And don't complain if you're not going to do anything about it. And I remember driving away going, right, she's right. Like, there's no way am I crying when, you know, I haven't done all these things. And I was determined that day. And like you said, when businesses, I think you have that effect because you're just like, forget all the bullshit. This is what you do. So yeah, I know we've talked about it before.
I think ultimately, you know, certainly in the world we're living in, not necessarily today, as in, you know, pandemic, the world is such a busy place. You know, you've all these people coming up, brands and businesses all trying to market to you, jumping on to social media, people trying to tell you to love them, check them out, buy their stuff. And then the other hand, as consumers, we're getting you know, busier, we're getting, you know, more miserable with our lives. There's people out there that just are going to their work and they're not enjoying that work, throw in a pandemic, throw in lockdown, throw in homeschooling. So brands popping on and trying to say, love me, love what you do. You know, it actually means so much to you. But the reality, and more often than not, is that nobody really cares. And I think that's one of the things that I came to learn about social media, certainly over the past few years, doing advertising for brands and stuff like that. Nobody really, really cares about you. And I think the only really care at the most fundamental level is what can you do for them. So the appeal isn't necessarily, you know, like what exactly it is about you. I think it is, you know, what exactly is it that you can do for them, and that you have to kind of realize that and stop fighting for that attention from customers. So I think, you know, and you do this really, really well, Caroline. It is about, you know, leveraging, using that emotion, making people feel something. And I think, you know, you do that really well. And often businesses don't really get that, and it can be quite hard to get that.
Yeah.
You know, instead of constantly trying to sell stuff and market, that's what you just have to get, that level of emotion.
It's not easy, I know. And especially if business owners are listening, they're like, oh my God, there's so much now to think about on the online space. And if you just were standing in your shop 20 years ago, you didn't have to be this different personality online. But I want to go on ahead with some more of the questions. What does, at the minute, a typical day look like for you compared to pre-COVID? Like, I know it's changed dramatically, your whole working environment and everything. So what's a typical day now?
It's as chaotic as it probably ever was, but it's definitely harder. You know, where I'm at the screen, you know, all the time. I'd say easily 16 hours a day. I'm on the screen 12 to 16 hours a day. I'm on training. I'm trying to organize things. I'm trying to look after a team remotely, and they all need help. And you know, it's trying to balance that, jump on a Zoom call or jump on a Google Meet. But a lot of what I do is training, mentoring and things like that. So like today I spent about 2-3 hours mentoring business that had Wi-Fi trouble the whole time. So it was like they were dropping off and you just get quite frustrated. So I'd say, you know, it's a day in the life of me now. Is it can be frustration and it can be quite overwhelming and long and tiring, but sure, it is what it is, and I'm just glad that I have work and that I am busy.
And what is, like, you're talking about the people you're mentoring and your businesses, what is the mood like among them at the minute? Like, what are they going through, and what are their challenge? I know that every business is different, but kind of vaguely, like skim over what their challenges would be based on what we're going through, really, is what I'm trying to say.
There's the online world is a lot noisier now, and there are more brands, fighting for that space and fighting for that attention. So it is harder for businesses to kind of grow now, and so their mood is actually fairly positive. Like, I do mentor businesses that are going through lockdown, and nothing pleases me more than seeing them actually utilising that time to upskill themselves, or, like, we've had so many inquiries from this last lockdown, like people wanting to improve their website or improve their Google ranking or things like that. So I think people are just grinning and bearing it and getting on with it now.
Mm-hmm. I know, I suppose, there's bees, like I talked about this in one of the other podcasters, like a fog can come over you and as a business owner, and I know that more than anyone, and sometimes you can't see through it and you have to make decisions, and then sometimes you do see a wee glimmer of light, and I know what that's like. So I was just wondering what's going on with everybody with you. But I've written here that you have a reputation as a straight talker, and I know I've already said that there as we go along, but has that ever got you in trouble? I'm wondering.
Straight talking.
Tell the truth now.
I'm sure it probably has. I've always been a straight talker. Like, yes, I've probably been in trouble in school, answering teachers back, and in work, actually. Yes, definitely in work. In previous roles, like, I was never really a wallflower, and I really stood up for things. But I think being straight talking isn't necessarily a negative thing. It could be a positive attribute. It ultimately shows that I'm sincere, truthful, and I guess loyal as well. But at the same time, straight talking can at sometimes mean that I have to have, I have to have uncomfortable conversations with business owners or with people, create discomfort, and I just need to be, I guess, mindful of the people that I'm interacting with and how they'll respond to them. But I guess in my industry, in digital marketing, so full of bullshit. There are so many cowboys, and I think the only way to navigate through all of that is just cutting through all the crap, and just being honest and straight talking. Plus, we work with loads of investors, so we would work with brands in coming out of London and down in Dublin, and they're investors, and they're pretty ruthless. So I guess we have to be straight talking. They just want they want the answers, they want accurate data, they want action plans, and I think you can't kind of be fluffy around them at all. So straight talking, a bit of self-belief as well in there. So yeah.
And then I've written, what straight talking advice would you give to business owners right now? Because I know, like, I'm on the ground with you as well on the mentoring side of things, and I be talking to businesses a lot. Some of them are, worried, and some of them are distressed, and some of them are afraid. And I'm just wondering, is there anything straight, like in a general consensus, say, surrounding social media? Is there anything straight talking that you would say to businesses right now that could help them?
Right now, obviously everyone's going through so much, and I think naturally we're conditioned to run away from those kind of feelings of, if you're uncomfortable or you've got anxiety, or you've that feeling of, oh God, I've never done this before. So, like, you are a big advocate of get on, talk on your social media, blah, blah, blah. And it's very easy for business owners to kind of think, actually, I want to run away from that. And naturally our default is to just run back to that kind of comfort space. And I would say only in hindsight have I really realized that those kind of moments are the moments where, you know, I'm just breaking a little. It's totally out of my comfort zone, but they genuinely are the occasions that have made me like stand up to what that task is and just become better. So I would say don't run back to your comfort zone. In a time like this, it is very, very easy to do that. And I guess just in business in general, and especially through the current climate, the way to win is just double down, doing something that you absolutely love doing. So don't think, this immediately that I'm going to be getting loads of sales, or I'm going to be rich, or I'm even going to make money this month. Because more often than not, and you'll know this, and I know this because I mentor lots of businesses, people aren't, and they're not doing that. But I think if you focus on doing something that you love, when you encounter those moments, when people would like give up, and it makes logical sense to quit, you'll persevere because you love doing it anyway. And I guess that's probably a bit of what you've gone through quite recently, you know, Caroline. Like, you love social media and you love the power of social media, and you know, it could have been very easy for you just to kind of you know, just quit and that's it, but you persevered because you did love it anyway. Yeah, so I think you'll only ever get there if you genuinely love what you're doing.
Yeah.
And that, I know that sounds a bit of a cliche, but you know, ultimately it is. And certainly, you know, within the first 6 months of me starting Digital 24, my mum passed away. I think was at, you know, I started in June and she passed away in November. And that wasn't expected. Like, I didn't set up the business thinking, oh, my mum's going to be dead in a couple of months. And around that same time, my client that owed me 5 figures went into receivership. And at that time it was just me, and my mum died. Client went into receivership. They owed me 5-figure sum. And I think in a moment like that, it would have been so easy for me just to quit, go back and get a job. But by that stage, I had genuinely loved starting a business, running my own business, and loving what I was doing. And I think, you know, when you look back on that, ultimately, I think passion did that. It helped me through all of that. So,
yeah. So just if the passion's there, keep the fire lit and keep it lit. And then, so you mentioned our social media. So me and you and I love social media, and anybody that follows me online will know, like, I actually do love it, and I love what it does. I love the way it's so powerful. Like, people, there's a lot of negativity, like, oh, social media and everybody knows your business, and you know, everybody has an opinion, but you know what? You're in control of what you show, and people can see what you want them to see. But I love it and you love it, and we came together to found the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards, and it was one of the best things that I've ever done in my life, and we only got to do it once. I can't believe it. Like 2018, was it 2018? No, 2019 we did it, and then COVID hit 2020 and we couldn't do the 2020 awards. But the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards for Niamh and I was a joint. I said to her, wouldn't it be unreal if we had
joint?
like
I did more.
What?
Joint, I did more.
So I was heavily pregnant, and no, I still did more on that day. I will never flip and forget it. But we founded the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards, and it was our passion that businesses would get the recognition that they deserve for amazing campaigns on social media, for creating, like, you know, for creating something good, something positive from their work on social media, and that they would get recognition for that. And that's exactly what happened on that night. And what like I've sort of answered the question that I was going to ask you, Niamh, but whenever you think about the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards, why did you why was it so important to you as well? I know why I loved it and why I needed it to happen, but what was it with you that made you say, yes, let's do this? So I want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors of the podcast, and that is B&L Productions. I have been so busy over the past few years, and when I've needed to make digital things happen, it's B&L Productions that I have always put my trust in. Like, I think of these guys as a one-stop shop for all things events, live and film. The team have worked with me on so many things, the social media content when I owned my shop. They provided everything, like from scripting, casting, storyboards, multitude of cameras, lighting, sound, editing, all the things that as a business owner aren't my expertise. And they also supported us in the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards that I'm the co-founder of. Like, that night took my breath away. The lights, the PA, the camera feeds, the huge LED wall, I will never forget it. Like, if it's a live streaming conferences for your work or whatever your project is, like, they bring all the kit, the microphones, the screens, they produce high-end TV ads, custom animations. They sort everything out in a hassle-free way, and like, I've called them up with all my crazy ideas over the years, and you know what? No idea is too big or too small or too ambitious. That's what I've learnt about the team at B&L Productions. So if you are thinking of commissioning some new marketing videos or online content, I hand on heart recommend my friends at B&L Productions. I know they will look after you. So I just want to thank them for being the sponsor. In fact, they're even editing this podcast because that is not my expertise at all. So thanks a million, B&L. And if you want to check out their socials, it's B&L Productions, or visit their website at bnlproductions.co.uk.
I think, ultimately it is because in Northern Ireland, you've loads of little small micro businesses who just never get a chance at going for any of those big grand awards, and probably always look at them and, want to kind of get that recognition. But I do think we have like some great businesses doing incredible, really natural, community-driven, organic, honest stuff on the likes of social media, even more so, I think, since lockdown. So you only have to look like the likes of Cookies, like those girls. You look at what Amy at Body Fit Mums are doing, or, Sarah and Paul at Ted and Stitch, or, even like Olivia at Olivia's Haven.
Yes, Olivia's Haven, yes.
Look at how they've all of a sudden they've just really found their voice in social media. So I think those for you and I, when we were going, what is the Northern Ireland Social Media Awards? Yes, we wanted to kind of acknowledge the brilliant campaigns and the brilliant agencies and freelancers that do incredible stuff in Northern Ireland as well, but also those smaller businesses, and give them a chance, for them to kind of really succeed and stand out and get recognition for that. Because I think people really appreciate, the recognition in a way, because it's somebody ultimately saying, well done, your efforts have paid off. And it means a lot to them. And obviously, if they have a team, it'll mean a lot to their team as well.
We knew all the business people in the room, and it made it even more when people were walking up for their award. I was like, flipping deadly, she won. Oh my God, I'm so excited. It was like as if I had won the award. So no, it's the best night ever.
You didn't know who had won the awards. I obviously did, but you hadn't known because I was liaising with the judges.
So when I seen the girls' faces walking up and all, I was like, this is flipping unreal. And I was so looking forward to this year. But look, well, it'll happen again very soon. I know it. So I wanted to ask you, like, you've learned loads over the years, like for people starting up their own businesses, and you've seen what to do and what not to do. Have you any top tip for for top tips for people who are starting up their own businesses that you've seen in your experience of what they should do or shouldn't do? Say like 3 things.
Well, top tip in an online world, I think, don't put your eggs all in the one basket. You have no control. So do not just solely focus on social media. Like you have no control over social media. Your customers could turn their back on social media. Or social media platforms will change. You know, like so many people have moved away from Facebook now. Like you only had to see during the week, Facebook had changed WhatsApp regulations, which meant now that the data on WhatsApp is now going to be shared with Facebook and Facebook's other platforms. So, you know, all of a sudden, there's been a massive surge in people moving away from WhatsApp and moving over to a new platform. I think it's called Signal.
I didn't know this. Okay.
Yeah, that isn't owned by Facebook. So, you know, those big giants are just people are moving away from them. So I think as a business, you can't put your eggs all in like one basket, primarily because of that. And then you also have to look at the likes of Apple and Facebook. And, you know, Apple came out and they accused Facebook of showing a complete disregard for user privacy. And therefore now the new update, the iOS 14, you know, Facebook advertisers will no longer be able to advertise to those users on Apple on the latest update. So you have so many things. So I think you need to build your website, get your own online presence, work at your SEO, work at building up your mailing list, and then work at your social media. But don't just solely focus on social media. Yeah. And primarily show up daily,
every day.
Even if you're not feeling like it, you have to, because the minute you don't, that's when things go downhill.
And your competitor is, and they get the business and you don't. Oh my God, it's so true. And consistency that's what I always say too, whenever in my own head too, when I was doing my shop and when I mentor people, I'm like, just show up every day, think of something, put the shutter up and do a video, put a post up. Just, you have to stay at the forefront of people's minds, or you're just, the algorithm and everything will just push you way back, and you can't afford to miss one day. That's what I always say to you. But so fast forward.
Actually, I'm listening to a podcast at the moment by Stephen Bartlett, and he says that's one thing. It's about consistency in everything that he does in life. You know, even if he doesn't feel like going to the gym, he goes to the gym.
Yeah, definitely. And in 10 years' time, what the hell is this place going to look like? Like 10 years ago, so I'm married 12 years. I didn't even have, I have no photographs on my phone of my wedding because I didn't have an iPhone and I didn't have Facebook or anything. So what do you think the digital landscape looks like in 10 years? I am scared to think.
I know. God, it moves so fast, doesn't it? I do definitely think we'll see the demise of the likes of Facebook, Instagram. I think there'll be something new. But I honestly can't see Facebook being around in 10 years' time. So it'll be interesting to see that. There's going to be a lot of, artificial intelligence, even voice search, they've said for the past, 4 or 5 years, voice search. And I would say it's only now that I do an awful lot of voice search, and you only have to if you're even doing messages, even WhatsApp messages or DMs on Instagram or whatever, you're doing voice messages. So I think all of that's going to change. There's going to be more kind of chatbots. Big kind of thing in and around. I think the demise of Facebook.
Wow, that's interesting, isn't it? Everybody's thinking, what the hell, all this work I'm putting in it?
Well, I wouldn't be, you only have to look at the amount of things going against Facebook, and sure, look what happened. Facebook are actually being blamed for the whole thing that happened during the week, with Trump supporters, because it was all arranged on Facebook. So I'd just be interested to see how that kind of pans out.
Well, look, everybody still keep plugging away on it because it's going to be there for a while yet. But so how the hell do you relax then? I know we have our WhatsApp group and, we all be putting in what we're doing and stuff. But for everybody else that's listening, you're the busiest woman I know. But what do you do to chill out?
I don't really switch off, do I really?
Well, no. What about when you get your massages and all?
Okay, I do like I'll go for I go for a massage, and I think that really just does help. It helps me sleep anyway. But even just taking a walk, I like to be by the water. Like, as you know, Caroline, we have a house in Rusnala, and like
It's just
we have
heaven.
people go there. But when I go down to Rusnala, it genuinely is the time when I can completely switch off. I genuinely switch off. I feel like I'm on holidays, and I might go down there during the summer and even do some work. But the minute I switch off my computer, I switch off. When I'm at home, that doesn't happen. So yeah, I like going for like nice long walks down by the water, any water, I guess. And that just helps me refocus. I think you start to look out to the ocean and start to think about things and appreciate the world, and you appreciate being alive, and you appreciate your family and things like that. So, and I think it just is very special down by the water. So, yeah.
Yeah. I just want you to tell people, if they are listening right now, how can they reach out to you? Where can they find you? And what kind of, businesses you're taking on at the minute, if you are at all, or what that looks like, or what's going on? Because everybody's going to be listening going, right, how am I going to get this woman to help me?
I know. I think, when I see digital marketing agencies out there with, come on board. When we're like tomorrow, I'm spending all day interviewing. I interviewed over the Christmas period. And some of those digital marketers were saying, I work on 20 to 30 clients. And I'm like, what? How can you give the clients their attention that they need when you have 20 or 30 that you're trying to manage? So I have a very strong ethos, and I say this on our website, is that we work with a very select number of clients at any given time. And I think, every day we get inquiries. But, I do try, if we can't, we can't keep on taking on new clients. And it's not as easy as just recruit. I go through a rigorous interview process to try and understand, is that person right for us? And I have very high standards with the people that I am employing. So, it's not as easy as just employing more people and upskill them. Of course, we're trying to do that. But they get in contact with me, I do offer the mentoring. We have the government programs that we mentor for as well. And we also deliver loads of webinars and training and things like that. So we have a closed Facebook group, and I will jump on and help any kind of questions in there. So, and then also reach out to me on Instagram, Digital 24's Instagram.
Which is We Are Digital 24.
Digital 24. Yeah, and I do tend to try and answer the questions there. Now, yourself, you miss things.
Of course.
And we got our first 1-star review, and it was someone had said that they had phoned 2 weeks prior. Now, at that time, a staff member had COVID. Other staff were off. And it just was like, I was so overwhelmed. It was our busiest period of the year. And you're trying to balance clients, you're trying to balance emails, you're trying to have HR head on you, you're trying to have the finance head on you, you're trying to market your own business, you're doing talks. And, sometimes I think if someone doesn't get back to you, they could have genuinely just
keep stalking them.
No, they could have genuinely just missed it or whatever.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say. This is what happened with you and I. So I knew you were at the busiest time. You were trying to push your business. You were doing all the talks, and I had emailed, and you had said to me you would get back, and then you did, and then we couldn't arrange a time, and then I rang, and then you couldn't get back to me, and then I kept stalking you until you give, and that's sometimes but you'll be straight talking and say, look, I can't take anybody on, but at that time you just needed me to persist because you had other things going on. But basically, it
wasn't hard for me to kind of just meet with you for 2 hours. So that's what we do offer, is 2-hour mentoring sessions.
To
try and kind of understand, what we can do to help you, to help yourself ultimately.
So
yeah, it just can be hard when you're when you're online mentoring all day. You still have a day's work to do when you finish that at 5 o'clock. You finish mentoring, you finish delivering a training or a webinar or whatever. You still have a day's worth of work to do. You've all your emails and you've all those missed phone calls as well. And it can be hard. And this year I am trying so hard to find a better balance, so I'm not working every day of the year like I did last year, and that might mean missing phone calls and letting some people down, but it is what it is.
Yeah. And then I ask this to everybody that I meet at the minute, which isn't too many people because of the situation we're in, but can you believe this is happening?
No, when I was actually training, so you're saying, can you believe this is happening? And when I was training in Queen's yesterday, one of the things I was training was like a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. And I was like, we work doing SWOT analysis for loads of businesses. And would you have ever put down a pandemic and threats? Guess who did?
You?
Yes. So we applied for a tender with the Fermanagh and Omagh District Council in the risk assessment. We had a pandemic in the risk assessment and we had marked it as low, as happening, but it was literally there.
Wow. Well, that's...
So can we believe
you can believe this is happening?
No.
I know, it's mad, but look, brighter days ahead. And
I think brighter days ahead. My dad got his vaccine yesterday. My sister got her vaccine, and I think there's just seeing that just gives you a wee glimmer of hope that we're getting closer to getting out of this mess.
But look, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to everybody. I know you're unreal. Now they all know you're unreal. And, I said it at the start and I'll say it again. You change things around for me and I'll be forever grateful. And I'm now grateful that we're friends as well. And yeah, go enjoy the rest of the evening with your lovely hubby. And yeah, I will speak to you soon.
Cheers. Thanks a million.
Thanks,
Caroline.
my dear. I know that sometimes that can be a lot to process. So we have made some show notes for you. If you head over to digmama.com and go to the Digg podcast page, you will see all of the information there. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our podcast. That will mean you'll be kept up to date with all our new guests. And also, if you want to follow all the drama behind the scenes, you can do that on the social media channels, Digg Mama. So yeah, have a happy week, guys, a safe one. Strange times, but I'm just taking it one day at a time, and I will see you all on the next podcast.